She didn't know the man watching her from the ICU corridor would decide her fate in 3 seconds. Didn't know his hands, stained with the blood of empires, would tremble the moment her brown eyes met his across the sterile white hallway. Didn't know that when she rushed past him to save a dying patient, her touch on his arm, barely a graze, would ignite something ancient and unbreakable inside him. He opened his mouth to speak, but she was already gone, white coat flying behind her like wings. Both their worlds shifted. Neither could go back. Welcome to Unfold Korean Stories, besties. Please like, share, and subscribe. Kang Min-ho stood frozen in the corridor of Seoul's most prestigious hospital. His expensive black suit drawing stares from passing nurses and doctors. Blood spotted his collar, not his own, a reminder of the meeting he'd left 20 minutes ago. A meeting that had ended with broken bones and shattered loyalty. His mother lay behind the thick ICU doors, her breathing monitored by machines that beeped with mechanical indifference. Cancer. Stage 4. The word tasted like ash in his mouth. He'd built an empire from nothing, controlled half the underground businesses in Seoul, made grown men weep with fear at the mention of his name. But he couldn't save her. Couldn't buy her more time. Couldn't threaten death itself into submission. A commotion pulled him from his thoughts. The ICU doors burst open and a woman rushed through, moving with practiced urgency. She was beautiful, curves that made his breath catch, dark skin glowing under the harsh hospital lights, natural curls pulled back in a professional bun. Her white coat couldn't hide the femininity underneath. She carried herself with quiet confidence, the kind that came from saving lives, not taking them. Their eyes met for a fraction of a second. Brown eyes, warm and concerned, scanning him quickly, professionally. Then her hand touched his arm as she passed, steadying herself. The contact lasted less than a second, but Min-ho felt it like electricity straight to his chest. His heart, which he'd thought had turned to stone years ago, suddenly hammered against his ribs. She disappeared into a patient room, emergency response team following behind her. Min-ho stared at the spot where she'd been. His hand unconsciously moving to where she'd touched his arm. The skin still felt warm. "Sir." His right-hand man, Park Sung-jin, appeared beside him. "Your mother is stable. The doctor said you can see her in an hour." Min-ho didn't respond. His eyes were fixed on the room where the beautiful nurse had vanished. "Who is she?" Sung-jin followed his gaze, confusion crossing his features. "Sir." "The nurse. The one who just ran past. I want to know everything about her." Something in Min-ho's voice made Sung-jin straighten. He'd worked for the Kang family for 15 years, had seen Min-ho order executions without blinking, had watched him build an empire on fear and precision. But he'd never heard that tone before. Hunger. Raw, desperate hunger. "I'll find out immediately." 20 minutes later, Sung-jin returned with a file. "Her name is Amara Jenkins. 28 years old. Born in London, moved to Seoul 3 years ago. Trauma nurse, top of her field. No family in Korea. Lives alone in Gangnam. No romantic attachments currently on record." Min-ho took the file, his fingers tightening on the folder. No romantic attachments. But that simplified things. He opened it to find her photo, an official hospital ID picture that didn't do her justice. In person she was radiant. In person she'd made his dead heart beat again. "I want security on her. Discreet. 24 hours. Sung-jin hesitated. "Sir, she's just a nurse. Is this about your mother's care?" Min-ho's eyes lifted, cold and final. "She's mine. I decided 3 seconds after I saw her. Now make sure nothing happens to her while I figure out how to make her understand that." The next morning, Amara rushed through her apartment, already running late for her shift. Her phone buzzed with a message from her supervisor about the emergency case from yesterday. The patient had survived. Relief flooded through her. She'd been up most of the night worrying, replaying every decision, every medication dosage, every compression. This was why she'd become a nurse. To save lives. Matter. She grabbed her bag and hurried out, not noticing the black car parked across the street. Not seeing the man inside watching her every move with obsessive focus. At the hospital, Amara changed into her scrubs and tied back her hair. Her reflection in the break room mirror showed exhaustion, dark circles under her eyes. She'd been working double shifts for months, saving money to bring her younger sister to Seoul for university. Every extra one mattered. Amara! Her colleague Min-ji grabbed her arm excitedly. Did you hear? We have a VIP patient in the ICU. Some wealthy family. They've requested private nurses. I hope they assign someone patient, Amara said, checking her schedule. Rich people can be demanding. They requested you specifically. Amara's head snapped up. What? Why would they request me? Min-ji shrugged. Maybe someone saw you during yesterday's emergency. You were incredible, by the way. Everyone's talking about it. Unease crept down Amara's spine. She didn't like being singled out. Didn't like special attention. She'd learned early in her career that VIP patients often came with complications beyond medical ones. But she couldn't refuse without cause. She made her way to the ICU, nodding at familiar faces, her mind already shifting into professional mode. The VIP room was at the end of the corridor. 2 men in dark suits standing outside like sentries. Bodyguards. Amara's steps slowed. What kind of patient needed armed guards? She knocked softly and entered. The room was filled with flowers, expensive arrangements that looked like they cost more than her monthly rent. Medical equipment beeped steadily. And in the bed lay an older woman, probably in her 60s, her face peaceful in medicated sleep. Amara moved to check the charts, her nursing instincts taking over. Cancer patient, post-surgery, stable but critical. She was adjusting the 4-drip when a voice behind her made her freeze. You're even more beautiful in the daylight. She turned slowly. The man from yesterday stood in the doorway, no longer spotted with blood, now wearing an immaculate black suit that probably cost more than her car. He was tall, devastatingly handsome in a dangerous way, with sharp features and eyes that looked like they'd seen too much darkness. Those eyes were fixed on her with an intensity that made her breath catch. I'm sorry, sir, visiting hours haven't started yet. She kept her voice professional, but her heart was racing. She's my mother. He stepped into the room, closing the door behind him. The space suddenly felt smaller, the air thicker. And you're Amara Jenkins, 28, from London. You've been in Seoul for 3 years. You live alone. You work double shifts to save money for your sister's education. Ice flooded Amara's veins. How do you know that? I make it my business to know everything about what's mine. Excuse me. Her voice came out sharper than intended. I'm not yours. I'm your mother's nurse. That's the only connection between us. Min-ho smiled, but it wasn't friendly. It was possessive, certain, terrifying in its confidence. Not yet. But you will be. I decided yesterday when you touched my arm. When you looked at me with those warm eyes. Something changed in me. Something I didn't know was still alive. Amara backed up until she hit the wall. Sir, I think you're confused. I'm here to care for your mother, nothing more. Please don't make this uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. He moved closer, not touching her, but close enough that she could smell his cologne, expensive and intoxicating. I'm being honest. I want you. I'm going to have you. And I'm going to protect you, care for you, give you everything you've ever needed. You just don't know it yet. You're insane. But her voice trembled, betraying her fear. Perhaps. His hand lifted slowly, giving her time to move away. He didn't. His fingers brushed her cheek, feather-light, and she shivered despite herself. But I've never been more certain of anything. You're mine, Amara. The sooner you accept that, the easier this will be. A soft sound from the bed made them both turn. Min-ho's mother stirred, her eyes fluttering open. Immediately, Min-ho's entire demeanor changed. The dangerous edge softened. He moved to his mother's side, taking her hand gently. Yama. I'm here. The older woman's eyes focused on her son, then drifted to Amara. A small smile touched her lips. Pretty, she whispered in accented English. You found someone pretty. Yes, Yama. Very pretty. Now rest. Save your strength. Amara's professional training kicked in, overriding her fear. She moved to the other side of the bed, checking vitals, adjusting the morphine drip. Mrs. Kang, I'm Amara, your nurse. How are you feeling? Any pain? Tired. So tired. Her hand tightened on Min-ho's. Promise me. Promise you won't be alone when I'm gone. Min-ho's jaw clenched. You're not going anywhere. You're going to fight this. Promise me. Her voice grew weaker. Find someone good. Someone warm. Not like the women your father chose. Someone with a good heart. His eyes lifted to Amara's across the bed. I already found her, Iyama. She just doesn't know it yet. Mrs. Kang smiled, satisfied, and drifted back to sleep. Later that evening, Amara finished her shift exhausted and emotionally drained. Min-ho had stayed by his mother's bedside for hours, sometimes speaking softly to her in Korean, sometimes just holding her hand. Amara had watched him when she thought he wasn't looking, seeing the tenderness beneath his dangerous exterior. He loved his mother deeply. That much was clear. But his earlier words still echoed in her mind. Mine. I'm going to have you. She should report him. Should request a different patient. Should run as far from Kang Min-ho as possible. Instead, she found herself thinking about the way he'd touched her cheek. The certainty in his voice. The hunger in his eyes. She was walking to her car when she noticed the black sedan parked nearby. The same one from this morning. Her steps slowed. Was someone following her? The driver's window rolled down. Sungjin smiled politely. Miss Jenkins, Mr. Kang has arranged for your transportation home. For your safety. I have a car. Which will be delivered to your apartment. Mr. Kang insists. Mr. Kang doesn't get to insist on anything regarding my personal life. Amara's voice hardened. I'm his mother's nurse, not his employee. Tell him thank you but no. She walked to her car, hands shaking as she unlocked it. This was getting out of control. She needed to set boundaries immediately. But when she reached her apartment building, Min-ho was waiting in the lobby. He stood when she entered, hands in his pockets, looking completely at ease despite being in her space without invitation. You refused my driver. I have my own car. I don't need your help. It wasn't help. It was protection. He moved closer. You don't know what I am, do you? What I do. The enemies I have. I don't want to know. I want you to leave me alone. I can't do that. His voice dropped lower, more intimate. You're in my head, Amara. I can't sleep. Can't focus. All I see is your face. All I want is you. You don't even know me. Then let me. He stepped closer, close enough that she had to tilt her head back to maintain eye contact. Have dinner with me tomorrow. Let me show you I'm more than what you think. No, please. The word sounded foreign in his mouth, like he rarely used it. One dinner. If you still want nothing to do with me after, I'll respect that. I'll stay away. Amara wanted to say no again. Wanted to run upstairs and lock her door. But something in his eyes stopped her. Vulnerability. Raw, desperate vulnerability hidden beneath layers of control. One dinner, she heard herself say. Public place. And you have to promise to stop having people follow me. I can't promise that. But I can promise the people following you are only there to keep you safe. From what? His smile was grim. From anyone who might want to hurt me by hurting you. You became a target the moment I decided you were mine. Fear and something else, something warmer she didn't want to name, flooded through Amara. I didn't ask for this. I know. But it's happening anyway. He pulled a card from his pocket and pressed it into her hand. Tomorrow, 7 p.m. I'll send a car. I'll drive myself. Stubborn. But he looked pleased. Fine. The address is on the card. Don't be late. He left before she could change her mind. His bodyguards falling into step behind him. Amara stood in her apartment lobby, card clutched in her hand, wondering what she'd just agreed to. The next day passed in a blur of patience and procedures. Amara checked on Mrs. Kang 3 times, finding her stable but weak. The older woman smiled whenever Amara entered, her eyes knowing. "He likes you," Mrs. Kang said during the afternoon check. "I can tell." "Mrs. Kang, please rest. Save your energy. I'm dying." The words were matter-of-fact, without self-pity. "But before I go, I want to know my son will be happy. He's been alone too long. Too cold. You make him warm." Amara's throat tightened. "I barely know him." "You will. He's decided. When Min-ho decides something, heaven and earth can't change his mind." She reached out, her hand fragile but her grip surprisingly strong. "Give him a chance. Beneath the darkness, he's a good man. He just forgot how to show it." By the time 7 p.m. arrived, Amara had changed her mind about the dinner 17 times. But she found herself standing in front of her closet anyway, trying to decide what to wear. Not too formal. Not too casual. Not sending any messages she didn't intend. She settled on a simple black dress that hugged her curves, paired with low heels. Professional enough. Her natural curls fell loose around her shoulders. Minimal makeup. She looked at her reflection and barely recognized herself. When had she last gone on a date? 2 years. 3. This isn't a date, she reminded herself. This is setting boundaries with a dangerously obsessed man. But her racing heart didn't believe the lie. The restaurant was in Gangnam, exclusive and expensive, the kind of place that required reservations months in advance. Amara's old car looked out of place among the luxury vehicles in the parking lot. She almost turned around. But Min-ho was waiting at the entrance. He'd seen her arrive. He wore a dark blue suit that made him look like sin incarnate. His eyes traveled down her body slowly, appreciation and hunger clear in his gaze. "You're beautiful. This is just dinner. Talk. That's all." Of course. But his smile said otherwise. He guided her inside with a hand on her lower back, the touch burning through the thin fabric of her dress. They were led to a private room, away from other diners, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Seoul skyline. "Privacy," Min-ho explained, pulling out her chair. "So we can talk honestly." Amara sat, hyper-aware of him settling across from her. His eyes never leaving her face. "You said you'd tell me about yourself. What do you want to know? What you do? Why you have bodyguards? Why your mother's room looks like a fortress?" Min-ho leaned back, studying her. "I run businesses. Some legal, some less so. Have enemies. People who would hurt my family to get to me. That's why I need security. You're a criminal. I'm a businessman in a complicated world." His voice didn't hold defensiveness, just statement of fact. "I've done things I'm not proud of. Hurt people who deserved it and some who didn't. But everything I've done was to protect what's mine. My family. My territory. My empire. And now you think I'm part of that. Part of what you own." "Yes." No hesitation. "From the moment I saw you, everything changed. I've built my life on control, on power, on fear. But when you touched my arm, when you looked at me with those warm eyes, I felt something I thought I'd lost. Oh, warmth. The possibility of something beyond this darkness." Amara's hands trembled. She clasped them in her lap. "You can't just decide someone belongs to you. That's not how relationships work. I've never had a relationship. I've had transactions. Women who wanted my money or my protection or my name. No one who looked at me like I was human." He leaned forward, intensity radiating from him. "You looked at me like I mattered. Not my wealth. Not my power. Just me. I didn't even know who you were." "Exactly." His hand reached across the table, covering hers. "You saw me, Amara. Really saw me. Do you know how rare that is? How precious? She wanted to pull her hand away. Should pull her hand away. But the warmth of his touch, the vulnerability in his eyes, kept her frozen. I'm not who you think I am, she whispered. I'm just a nurse. I work hard. I send money to my sister. I eat instant noodles for dinner most nights. I'm ordinary. You're extraordinary. And you're mine. I'll prove it to you slowly if I have to. I'll show you that being mine means being protected, cherished, given everything you've ever wanted. You'll never worry about money again. Never work double shifts. Never eat instant noodles unless you choose to. I don't want your money. Then what do you want? His thumb stroked across her knuckles, sending shivers up her arm. Amara met his eyes, those dark, dangerous eyes that somehow looked at her like she was the answer to every question he'd never asked. I want to be seen as more than a possession, as a partner, as someone with choices. You have choices. Choose me. Choose this. Choose to let me show you what it means to be loved by someone who would burn the world down to keep you safe. The intensity in his voice stole her breath. This was insane. She barely knew him. He was dangerous, possibly sociopathic in his certainty. She should run. But God help her, she was curious, attracted, drawn to him in ways that terrified her. Their dinner arrived, expensive dishes she couldn't pronounce. Min-ho ordered for them both, somehow knowing exactly what she'd like. They ate in charged silence, the air between them electric with unspoken promises and dangerous possibilities. Tell me about your sister, he said finally. The question surprised her. Ji-won. She's 22. Smart, much smarter than me. She wants to study medicine. I'm trying to save enough to bring her here, to pay for her education. Consider it done. Amara's fork clattered to her plate. What? Your sister. I'll pay for her education. Bring her to Seoul. Best university. Full scholarship under my foundation's name. She'll never know it came from me if you don't want her to. I can't accept that. It's not for you. It's for her. Don't let pride stop your sister from achieving her dreams. His eyes held hers. Let me help. Let me show you I'm serious about taking care of what's mine. Tears burned Amara's eyes. The offer was too generous, too perfect. Why? Why would you do that? Because you love her. 'Cause it matters to you. And what matters to you matters to me now. He reached across the table again, this time cupping her face gently. Let me in, Amara. Let me show you what it means to be cared for. She should say no. Should protect herself. But looking into his eyes, seeing the raw honesty there, she found herself nodding. 1 month. I'll give you 1 month to prove you're more than what you seem. But the moment I think this is dangerous or wrong, I'm walking away. 1 month, he agreed. That's all I need. What Amara didn't know, as Min-ho's thumb brushed away a tear that had escaped down her cheek, was that he had no intention of ever letting her walk away. She was his now. His heart. His weakness. His everything. And in Min-ho's world, what was his stayed his. Forever. The following week blurred into something dreamlike and terrifying. Min-ho kept his word about giving Amara space, but his presence was everywhere. Flowers arrived at the hospital every morning, exotic arrangements with cards that said simple things like, thinking of you, or, you look beautiful when you're focused. Her colleagues whispered and stared, but Amara kept her head down, focused on her work. Mrs. Kang's condition stabilized enough for conversations. The older woman watched Amara with knowing eyes whenever Min-ho visited, which was daily. He'd sit by his mother's bedside for hours, sometimes conducting business on his phone in rapid Korean, sometimes just holding her hand in comfortable silence. Amara watched the tenderness between them and saw a different side of the dangerous man who'd claimed her as his. With his mother, Min-ho was gentle, patient, vulnerable in ways he never showed the outside world. One afternoon, Mrs. Kang called Amara closer while Min-ho stepped out to take a call. He's different with you, the older woman said softly. Softer. I haven't seen him like this since he was a boy, before his father died. How did his father die? Amara asked before she could stop herself. Murdered. By rivals. Min-ho was 17. Mrs. Kang's eyes grew distant with memory. He became hard after that. Had to survive, to protect me, to build what his father left behind. But he lost himself in the process. Lost the warmth. Until you. Amara's throat tightened. Mrs. Kang, I'm not sure I'm what he needs. You're exactly what he needs. Someone who sees the man, not the monster. Someone brave enough to stand up to him. Someone with a good heart. Her hand squeezed Amara's weakly. Promise me you'll give him a real chance. Not because he's powerful or wealthy. But because beneath everything, he's just a lonely man who forgot how to love. Before Amara could respond, Min-ho returned. His eyes moved between them, suspicious but not unkind. What are you two plotting? Women's secrets, his mother said with a slight smile. You'll never know. That evening, Min-ho walked Amara to her car despite her protests. The spring air was cool, cherry blossoms drifting from trees like pink snow. They walked in comfortable silence until reaching her vehicle. Have dinner with me again, Min-ho said. It wasn't quite a question. We just had dinner 3 days ago. I know. I've counted every hour since. His hand lifted to tuck a curl behind her ear, the gesture tender. I want to spend time with you. Not because of my mother. Not because of any obligation. Just because being near you makes me feel human again. Amara's resistance crumbled a little more. Tomorrow night. But somewhere normal. No private rooms. No excessive gestures. Define normal. A regular restaurant. Where regular people eat. Min-ho looked pained but nodded. If that's what you want. The next night, he picked her up in a car that cost more than most houses, but took her to a small Korean barbecue place in Itaewon, the kind with plastic chairs and grumpy ajumas who yelled at customers. Amara nearly laughed at the sight of him in his expensive suit, surrounded by college students and tourists. This is normal, he asked, looking around with barely concealed horror. This is where regular people eat. She grinned, the first genuine smile she'd given him. Come on. It'll be good for you. They grilled meat over the table flame, Amara teaching him how to wrap it properly in lettuce with garlic and peppers. Min-ho watched her more than he ate, fascination clear on his face. You're staring, she said, feeling self-conscious. I can't help it. You're beautiful when you're happy. His voice was soft, intimate despite the noisy restaurant. I want to make you happy like this all the time. You can't buy happiness, Min-ho. I'm learning that. He reached across the table, his hand covering hers on the grilled tongs. But I can earn it, slowly, by showing you who I really am. And who are you really? A man who's made terrible choices, who's hurt people, who's built an empire on fear. His eyes held hers. But also a man who would die to protect you, who thinks about you every waking moment, who's terrified you'll realize you deserve better and leave. Amara's breath caught. The vulnerability in his admission cracked something open in her chest. I'm scared of you sometimes. I know. I hate that I scare you. Not of what you'll do to me. Of what you'll do for me. The extent you'd go to. That level of obsession isn't healthy. Probably not. His thumb stroked across her knuckles. But it's what I feel. I've never been good at moderation. When I want something, I take it. When I love something, I consume it. You've awakened something in me I didn't know existed, and now I can't turn it off. You don't love me. You don't even know me. Then let me know you. Completely. Every scar, every dream, every fear. He lifted her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that made her shiver. I want all of you, Amara. The good and the bad. The strength and the vulnerability. Everything. They talked for hours, long after the food grew cold. Min-ho told her about his childhood, the pressure of being an heir, the night his father died. Amara shared stories about growing up in London, her Nigerian mother's strength, her British father's gentle wisdom, both gone now. They talked about loss and loneliness and the strange paths that had brought them to this moment. By the time he drove her home, something had shifted. The walls she'd built were crumbling, brick by careful brick. At her door, Min-ho cupped her face in his hands, his touch reverent. "Can I kiss you?" Her heart hammered. "Min-ho, just once. Let me show you what I feel. If you don't feel it too, I'll wait. I'll give you more time." She should say no. Should protect herself. But God, she wanted to know what his lips tasted like. Wanted to feel if the chemistry between them was as electric as it seemed. "Okay," she whispered. He kissed her slowly, carefully, like she was precious. His lips were soft against hers, tasting of soju and promises. The kiss deepened gradually, his tongue sliding against hers, his hands in her hair. Amara melted into him, her body responding in ways that terrified her. When he finally pulled back, they were both breathing hard. "Tell me you felt that," he said against her lips. "I felt it." Her voice shook. "Tell me I'm not alone in this." "You're not alone." She pressed her forehead against his chest, feeling his heart race beneath her cheek. "But I'm still scared." "I'll keep you safe. I promise." His arms wrapped around her, solid and warm. "Nothing will ever hurt you while I'm alive." The next morning, Amara woke to her phone ringing. Minji's panicked voice came through. "Amara, you need to come to the hospital now. Mrs. Kang crashed an hour ago. They're trying to stabilize her, but it's bad." Amara dressed in record time and raced to the hospital. She found Min-ho outside the ICU. His suit rumpled, his face drawn with fear. When he saw her, something in his expression cracked. "She's dying," he said, his voice breaking. "They said hours. Maybe less." Amara went to him without thinking, wrapping her arms around his waist. He held her like a drowning man, his face buried in her hair. "I'm not ready," he whispered. "I'm not ready to lose her." "I know. I'm so sorry." They stayed like that for a long moment, him drawing strength from her presence. Finally he pulled back, wiping his eyes roughly. "I need to be with her. Will you?" He stopped, vulnerability naked on his face. "Will you stay?" "Of course." They spent the day by Mrs. Kang's bedside. The older woman drifted in and out of consciousness, sometimes lucid, sometimes lost in memories. During her clear moments, she'd smile at seeing them together. "You found each other," she said weakly, her hand reaching for both of theirs. "Promise me. Promise you'll take care of him, Amara. He needs someone strong. Someone who won't let him become cold again." "I promise," Amara said, tears streaming down her face. "And you?" Mrs. Kang turned to Min-ho. "Promise me you'll let her love you. Let her in. Don't push her away when you're scared." "I promise, Siyama." His voice broke. "I promise." Mrs. Kang smiled, peaceful. "Then I can go. I can rest." Her eyes closed. "Love each other well. That's all that matters in the end. Love well." She passed an hour later, Min-ho holding one hand, Amara holding the other. The machines flatlined. The world kept turning. And Min-ho's last anchor to softness, to humanity, slipped away. Amara held him as he cried, his strong body shaking with grief. She whispered comfort in the darkness, promising him he wasn't alone, that she was there, that she'd stay. What she didn't know was that in losing his mother, Min-ho's obsession with keeping Amara safe would intensify to dangerous levels. She'd become his everything now, his only light. And he'd destroy anyone who tried to take her away. The funeral was a massive affair. Hundreds of people from Seoul's underground world paying respects. Amara stood beside Min-ho in a black dress, his hand gripping hers so tightly her fingers went numb. He didn't cry in public, his face a mask of cold control. But she felt the tremors running through him, the barely contained grief. After the ceremony, people approached offering condolences. Business associates, rival families, politicians who played both sides. They all looked at Amara with curiosity, whispers spreading about who she was, why she stood beside the notorious Kang Min-ho like she belonged there. One man in particular caught her attention. Park Dae-young, head of a rival organization. His eyes cold as they assessed her. "So this is the woman who's made Min-ho soft," he said in English. "Pretty. I can see why he's distracted." Min-ho's entire body went rigid. "Careful what you say about her. It's a compliment." Dae-young smiled without warmth. "Though I wonder if she knows what she's gotten into. Dating you is dangerous, Min-ho. Your enemies might decide she's an easy target. Anyone who touches her dies." Slowly, Min-ho's voice carried lethal promise. "Spread that message to anyone stupid enough to consider it." Dae-young laughed and walked away, but the threat lingered in the air. Amara felt eyes on her all evening, assessing, calculating. She'd become a target just by standing beside Min-ho. That night, at Min-ho's penthouse, he paced like a caged animal. "You should leave the country," he said suddenly. "Go back to London. Be safe." "What?" Amara stood from the couch, confusion flooding through her. "You don't want me here. I want you alive." "You heard Ding. Every rival I have will see you as my weakness. They'll come for you to hurt me. So you're pushing me away. I'm protecting you." His voice rose, pain and fear mixing. "Don't you understand? Everyone I love dies. My father. My mother. I can't." He stopped, his fist slamming into the wall. "I can't lose you too." Amara crossed to him, taking his bleeding knuckles in her hands gently. "You won't lose me. Not if we're careful. Not if we face this together. You should run from me. From this life. Maybe. But I'm not going to." She cupped his face, forcing him to meet her eyes. "I'm choosing to stay. I'm choosing you. Even knowing the danger. Even knowing you're complicated and obsessive and sometimes terrifying. I'm staying." "Why?" The word came out broken. "Because you make me feel alive. Because when you look at me I feel seen for the first time in my life. Because underneath the darkness, you're a good man who's forgotten how to believe in himself." She pressed her forehead to his. "Let me in. Stop trying to protect me from yourself." Something in him snapped. He kissed her desperately, all control gone, his hands in her hair, on her body, everywhere at once. Amara responded with equal hunger, months of tension exploding between them. He lifted her easily, carrying her toward his bedroom, their lips never separating. "Tell me to stop," he breathed against her neck. "Tell me this is too fast." "Don't stop," she gasped. "I need this. I need you." What happened next was passion and grief and desperate need tangled together. Min-ho loved her with an intensity that stole her breath, his hands and mouth worshipping every inch of her body. He whispered her name like a prayer, told her she was beautiful, precious, his. Amara gave herself completely, every wall demolished, every fear surrendered to the moment. Afterward they lay tangled together, his hand possessively on her hip, her head on his chest listening to his heartbeat. "You're mine now," he said softly. "Completely mine. You understand that." "I understand." She traced patterns on his scarred chest. "But I need you to understand something too. I'm not a possession. I'm your partner. That means I get a say in decisions that affect us. Even if those decisions might keep you safer. Even then." He pulled her closer, his lips pressing to her forehead. "You're going to be difficult, aren't you?" "Absolutely." "Good." His voice held a smile. "I wouldn't want you any other way." They fell asleep wrapped around each other, finding peace in the darkness. But peace never lasted long in Min-ho's world. Amara woke before dawn to find his side of the bed empty. Panic seized her until she heard his voice from the living room, speaking rapid, angry Korean. She wrapped herself in his shirt and padded out to find him on the phone, his face dark with fury. He ended the call and turned to her, his expression grim. "One of my warehouses was hit tonight. Burned to the ground. Jung's people. He's sending a message. What kind of message? That he's coming for what's mine. My territory. My businesses. You. Min-ho crossed to her, his hands gripping her shoulders. I need you to stay here today. Under guard. Please don't fight me on this. Min-ho, I have work. Patients who need me. I'll call the hospital. Tell them you're sick. One day, Amara. Just give me one day to handle this. She saw the fear beneath his anger, the genuine terror of something happening to her. Okay, one day. But you have to promise me you'll be careful. Whatever you're planning. I'm planning to make it very clear that touching you means death. He kissed her hard. Stay here. Sung-jin will be outside. Don't open the door for anyone except me. He left, and Amara spent the day pacing the penthouse, her nursing instincts screaming to be at the hospital, her heart terrified for Min-ho. She tried calling him twice. Both times it went to voicemail. By evening, anxiety had her wound so tight she could barely breathe. She was about to call again when the penthouse door opened. Min-ho entered, his suit spotted with blood. His knuckles split and bruised. Oh God! Amara rushed to him. Are you hurt? Not my blood. His voice was flat, empty. It's handled. Dae-young won't be a problem anymore. She didn't ask what he'd done. Didn't want to know. She just led him to the bathroom, running warm water, cleaning the blood from his hands with gentle touches. He watched her silently, something broken in his eyes. Do you hate me now? He asked quietly. For what I am? What I do? Amara looked up at him. This dangerous man who'd killed for her, who'd protect her at any cost. She should be horrified, should run. But all she felt was overwhelming love for the broken, lonely man beneath the monster. No, she whispered. I don't hate you. See you. All of you. And I'm still here. His control shattered. He pulled her up, kissing her desperately, his hands shaking as they held her. I love you, he breathed against her lips. I love you so much it's destroying me. I love you too. The words felt terrifying and right all at once. Even when I'm scared. Even when this is crazy. I love you. They made love again, slower this time, tender and desperate and full of promises. Afterward, Min-ho held her close, his face buried in her hair. Marry me. Amara's heart stopped. What? Marry me. Let me protect you properly. Let me give you my name, my protection, everything I have. He pulled back to look at her, his eyes blazing. I know it's fast. I know you should have time. But I can't wait. I need you bound to me in every way. Need the world to know you're mine. Min-ho, we've only known each other a few weeks. I've known you're mine since the first second I saw you. Time doesn't matter. What matters is this. He pressed her hand to his chest, over his heart. What matters is that you're the only good thing in my dark world. Marry me, Amara. Please. She should say no. Should demand time, logic, sense. But looking into his eyes, feeling the fierce love radiating from him, she found herself nodding. Yes. Yes, I'll marry you. His smile was brilliant, transforming his face. He kissed her again, this time with joy instead of desperation. I'll give you everything. The wedding you dream about. The life you deserve. You'll never regret choosing me. I already don't regret it. The next morning, Min-ho was already planning, making calls in rapid Korean while Amara showered. When she emerged, he pulled her onto his lap, his arms wrapping around her possessively. We'll marry next month. Small ceremony. Just people we trust. Then a honeymoon wherever you want to go. Min-ho, that's too fast. I need to tell my sister. Figure out work. Actually plan things. I'll handle everything. You just show up and say, I do. His lips found her neck, making her shiver. And then I'll spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret it. You're impossible. You love it. She couldn't deny it. Somehow, this obsessive, dangerous man had become her entire world. But their happiness was short-lived. 3 days before the wedding, Amara was leaving the hospital after a late shift when a black van pulled up. Men in masks grabbed her before she could scream, throwing her inside. A cloth pressed over her face, chemical sweet. Darkness swallowed her. She woke in a cold room tied to a chair, her head pounding. Ding sat across from her, very much alive, his smile vicious. "Hello, Miss Jenkins. Or should I say, future Mrs. Kang." Terror flooded through her. "Min-ho will kill you. Min-ho thinks he killed me. I let him think that. Now I have his precious fiancé, and he'll give me everything to get you back." Deung leaned forward. "You're going to call him. Tell him my demands. And if he refuses, I'll send him pieces of you until he complies." Hours later, Min-ho's phone rang. When he answered and heard Amara's terrified voice, his entire world stopped. "Min-ho, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. They grabbed me from the hospital. Where are you?" His voice stayed deadly calm even as his heart shattered. "Amara, where are you?" Deung's voice came on the line. "Hello, Min-ho. I believe you have something that belongs to me. Several territories, actually. Sign them over, and I'll return your pretty nurse in one piece. If you hurt her, I'll destroy everything you love, everyone you know. I'll burn your entire organization to ash. You're in no position to threaten. You have 24 hours. The line went dead. Min-ho immediately mobilized every resource. Sung-jin traced the call to an abandoned factory. Within hours, Min-ho had assembled his most loyal men, armed to the teeth. This wasn't business anymore. This was war. "Boss, they'll be expecting us," Sung-jin warned. "It's likely a trap. I don't care. He's in there. Nothing else matters." They hit the factory at dawn, Min-ho leading the assault. Gunfire erupted. Men fell. Min-ho moved through the chaos with single-minded focus, searching for her. Finally, he found the room where they'd kept her. Amara was still tied to the chair, bruised but alive. Her eyes widened when she saw him, relief and fear mixing. "Min-ho." He cut her bonds and pulled her into his arms, his hands frantically checking for injuries. "Did they hurt you? Tell me what they did." "I'm okay. Just bruises. Min-ho Deung is dead. For real this time. I made sure." His voice held dark satisfaction. "No one takes what's mine. Ever." He carried her out of the factory, past bodies and smoke and destruction. His men had secured the area. The threat was eliminated. But Min-ho didn't stop until Amara was in his car, safe in his arms. "I'm sorry," she whispered against his chest. "I should have been more careful. This isn't your fault. It's mine for not protecting you better." His arms tightened. "But that changes now. You're moving into the penthouse permanently. 24-hour security. No arguments. Min-ho, I almost lost you." His voice broke. "Do you understand what that did to me? The hours you were gone, not knowing if you were hurt, scared, dying. I was losing my mind. So no arguments. You stay where I can protect you. Where I can know you're safe." Amara nodded, too shaken to fight. She'd been terrified too, wondering if she'd ever see him again. The violence of his world had become real in the worst way. But so had his love, his protection, his willingness to burn everything down to save her. The wedding happened a week later, small and private as planned. Amara wore a simple white dress, her curls adorned with flowers. Min-ho looked devastating in a black suit, his eyes never leaving her face as she walked down the makeshift aisle in his penthouse. When they exchanged vows, his voice shook with emotion. "I promise to love you, protect you, and keep you safe for the rest of my life. You're my heart, Amara. My everything. And I promise to stand beside you, to be your light in the darkness, to love you through everything." Tears streamed down her face. "You're mine, Min-ho. Forever." When he kissed her, sealing their bond, applause erupted from their small gathering. Sung-jin, the hospital colleagues who'd become friends, Ji-won who'd flown in from London, all celebrating their impossible love. 6 months later, Amara stood in their penthouse bathroom, staring at a positive pregnancy test. Joy and terror warred in her chest. They'd talked about children eventually, but this soon. Min-ho found her sitting on the bathroom floor, the test clutched in her shaking hands. One look at her face and he knew. "We're pregnant." She nodded, unable to speak. He dropped to his knees beside her, his hand covering hers on her still flat stomach. "We're having a baby." Wonder filled his voice. "You're carrying our child. Are you happy?" she whispered. "Happy." He pulled her into his arms, his face buried in her neck. "I'm terrified. Overwhelmed. More in love with you than I thought possible. You're giving me everything, Amara. Family. Future. A reason to be better." They sat on the bathroom floor holding each other, two people from different worlds who'd found each other in the darkness. It hadn't been easy. It hadn't been safe. But it had been real. And as Min-ho's hand rested protectively on her stomach, Amara knew she'd made the right choice. Choosing him. Choosing love. Choosing to believe that even the darkest heart could find light with the right person beside them. Their story was dangerous, obsessive, and completely insane. But it was theirs. And that made it perfect. 1 year later, Amara held their daughter, Min-ho, tiny and perfect with her father's dark eyes and her mother's warm skin. Min-ho sat beside them on the hospital bed, his finger gripped in his daughter's tiny fist, his expression one of absolute wonder. "I never thought I could have this," he whispered. "A family. Real love. Peace." "You deserve it," Amara said, watching him with their child. "You've become a good man, Min-ho. The man your mother knew you could be." He looked at her. This woman who'd saved him in every way a person could be saved. "Thank you for not running. For staying when I gave you every reason to leave. For loving me when I didn't know how to love myself. Thank you for not letting me go. For fighting for us. For showing me what real love looks like." She leaned against him, their daughter between them. "This is everything I never knew I needed." Min-ho kissed her forehead, then his daughter's. His family. His heart. His entire world. And for the first time since his father died, he felt truly at peace. The darkness would always be part of him, but Amara's light kept it at bay. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. Welcome to the rest of their lives. A love born from a single moment in a hospital hallway. A love that survived danger, obsession, and impossible odds. A love that proved even the coldest heart could thaw with the right touch. This was their happily ever after. Hard-won and precious and absolutely worth every risk. And as Min-ho held his wife and daughter close, watching the Seoul sunrise paint the sky in shades of gold, he made a silent vow. He'd spend the rest of his life protecting this, cherishing this, being worthy of the gift Amara had given him by choosing to love him despite everything. Because in the end, love wasn't about being perfect. It was about being real. And their love, dark and dangerous and beautiful, was the most real thing either of them had ever known.